But he sits there, and the best way I could describe him is just vibe arsenic, because he killed our mood. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to it if this is your first time here. Thanks for clicking on my face. My name is Jacy, and I like to do story times on this channel. And today's story in particular, I was actually super hesitant to tell you guys about. And one of the reasons for that is I don't want to come across as like a Karen or somebody who complains a lot. But this story in particular was just such an odd experience that it'd be a shame if I didn't share it with you guys, because I love telling you about all these weird little things that keep popping up in my life, whether they're tame and mundane or more on the crazy side. This probably falls somewhere in between. But I still wanted to share it with you guys, so if you like story times, hanging out with me, and just sharing in the collective weird experience that is 2021, then make sure to like this video and subscribe so you can join us for future videos. But let's get started on this story time. Wow, great intro. I didn't even tell you what this video was gonna be about. So about a month ago, my sister had her wifelorette party, which is basically a bachelorette, but because she was a COVID bride, she didn't get that party before she actually got married. So she kind of got a redo with this wifelorette party, and we went to Temecula, California, which is basically the wine country of Southern California. So as one of the activities for her and her group of best girlfriends, we definitely wanted to do some type of wine tasting tour. So this story is going to be about the weird experience we had with the specific tour company that we chose. Now, I'd like to preface this entire story by saying that I will not be naming the company that this story is about for a couple of reasons. Number one is they are a small business. It is just a couple running this business. They are doing their best, and I would never want to shame or jeopardize a small business when they're just doing their best. You know, I don't want to direct any kind of negative attention towards them or prevent you guys from booking with them, because they do have such a cool concept. Just our own personal experience wasn't that great. I have also shared everything that I'm saying in this video with them as just kind of like constructive feedback to say like, hey, here's what happened with us, maybe try to prevent it for future customers, because we do want you to succeed, but I also don't want to give a public negative review to prevent any kind of future business for you guys. Reason number two why I will not be naming this company is that they are brand spanking new. They are months old. So a mere little baby business. So they absolutely still have kinks to work out. They still have to figure out like the flow of how they're going to make these experiences for future customers. So I do not want to demerit them. Is demerit a verb? So I don't want to dink them for things that they'll smooth out in the future. So please keep that in mind, that as I tell this story, I am not blaming the business specifically. It was just a very odd experience that they hope they can learn from, and in turn prevent that from happening with future customers. So just wanted to get that out of the way before I start this story. All right, so now that we've acknowledged that, let's hop into the story. So again, we're in Temecula, wine country, and we wanted to do a fun activity for all of the girls. So we knew we wanted to do some type of wine tasting. So normally when you go wine tasting, you all hop in a car and drive from winery to winery, which are, you know, a quarter mile apart from each other. But I knew that I wanted to enjoy the wine tasting too, and as the maid of honor, I probably would have gotten suckered into driving everyone. So it was really important to get some type of bus that could traverse around all of the wineries and give us a kind of guided and curated tour. So we ended up booking a tour with this one party bus company that was so cute. It was basically an Instagrammer's dream. It was an aesthetically pleasing party bus, and they pick you up from your Airbnb, they take you to 3 wineries, they provide a charcuterie dinner, and then they drop you back off. And we're like, this is so perfect. You know, everything about their photos on Instagram was so cute. It just looked like everything was all mapped out and curated for you. Perfect. Let's book it. So we were able to book the Sunset Winery tour, which we were super excited about because golden hour, hello, we want those Instagram photos. And because it was kind of later in the night, so we didn't feel obligated to start, you know, getting turnt at 10 in the morning for a morning tour of wineries, you know? So all of us girls get all dressed up. We asked that everyone wore wine colors to kind of set the theme and to showcase my sister, who's wearing all white. So we start like doing our pre-gaming with wine, taking some shots, knowing that our party bus was coming to pick us up at 5:30 on the dot. So we're taking our like pre-game photos, we're having a good time. 5:30 rolls around, and, you know, the bus isn't there, no big deal. 5:40 rolls around, and that's when we're kind of like, all right, they're running late. Let's send them a text. So my sister sends them a text and says, hey, any idea when you're gonna be here? And the bus driver messaged her back like, yeah, sorry, I'm in traffic, like I'll be there soon. And we're like, okay guys, he's gonna be here soon, no worries. Another 15 minutes rolls by, and the vibe of the group was kind of starting to die down a little bit. You know, we didn't want to pregame too hard knowing we're about to go on this winery tour. So everyone was just kind of like relaxing on the couch, and the excitement started to die down because it was now 25 minutes later after we had expected our bus to arrive. So my sister emails the company and says, hey, any idea when you're about to arrive? The other owner of this business, who again, it was a couple, so the wife, she messages back and she's like, he's not there yet? Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, he'll work it out with you. I just talked to him. He'll be there in 5 minutes. And we're like, okay, no big deal. So right away, we're not off to a great start because our bus driver was a half hour late in picking us up. But that kind of melted away when he shows up because our beautiful tour bus arrives. Again, it is an Instagrammer's dream. It is super cute. And we're like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be so fun. Yay, we have our party bus, let's go. So how this whole plan worked was we didn't actually pick the wineries we wanted to go to. We didn't say what kind of wines we liked. We just kind of assumed like, hey, we're just gonna book this and you take care of it. And so the first winery that he takes us to was, I kid you not, 4 minutes away. So we hop in the bus, we're playing music, we're having a good time. And then I was like, all right guys, we're here. And we're like, oh, that was quick, but you know, we're here for the wineries, not the bus. So let's hop off and go on to our winery tour. So this is where we start to get interesting vibes from our bus driver. So we arrive at our winery and it was so cool because there was a waiter there with a tray full of glasses of wine. And we walk up and he's like, hi, some Pinot Noir. And we're like, oh my gosh, the celebrity treatment. This is kind of awesome. And then they guide us into the back room and there's a table all set up for us. And they're like, here's where you'll be doing your wine tasting. And we're like, oh my God, this is so fun. Like, it was fun. So I go up to the bus driver and I'm like, hi, I'm the maid of honor. What was your name? And he was like, oh shoot, I forgot to introduce myself to you guys. Sorry, I was just, you know, worried about being so late. I just wanted to get you on the bus. But my name is Jimmy, we'll call him. So I said, hi Jimmy, like I'm the maid of honor. Let me know if you need anything. So he goes, okay, yeah, for sure. So then I sit down, we're all sitting down with our first glass of wine, and he kind of makes this announcement to our whole table and he goes, excuse me ladies, I haven't eaten anything today. Would you mind if I like quickly run out and go get some keto snacks? Cause I'm just really hungry. And so we're all just kind of like, yeah, sure. Like, we're not gonna be like, no, you can't eat. But we were just like, okay, that was, first of all, it was really weird and funny. Like, we started teasing him like keto snacks. That was so specific. But that he asked for permission when like he could have just as easily snuck away and we would have never even known. So that was kind of like the first thing where we're like, this is Jimmy guy. A little sus. So Jimmy leaves, which is fine because the actual winery was doing our wine tasting. So we had a server come out and she's explaining, okay, this next wine is a Syrah. So it's a little bit of a less bold red and it's delicious and tasty and notes and oakiness and the legs and the tannins and wine phrase here. You get it. So this server is doing exactly what we want out of a wine tasting. She's explaining each of the wines we're about to drink. She's explaining things that it pairs well with, or maybe a step up or step down if you don't like it. Kind of giving us the full rundown of the wine while we're mingling, hanging out, chatting. Super fun time. So I actually really enjoyed that wine, and so did my sister. And my sister says, ooh, I want to take one of these bottles of wine to like home. And I said, I'll tell you what, I'll buy you a bottle, like on me. So I come up from the table and I go inside and I say, hi, I'd like to buy a bottle of that wine that we just got. And the server says, yeah, absolutely. Also, just to let you guys know, we actually close in 10 minutes. So I don't know if maybe you could like tell your friends to kind of speed it up a little bit. And I was kind of thrown off guard because I was like, well, our bus driver was a half hour late. That's not on me. Like, I thought it was kind of odd that she mentioned it to me, but I guess it's because maybe she had known that I was the maid of honor and just kind of knew that I was coordinating my group of friends at least. But I was just kind of like, I don't know, it left a bad taste in my mouth of like, well, dang, now I feel like rushed, but I'm not going to go back and tell my friends like, okay, ladies, let's hurry up because our bus driver was late. You know, I don't know. I just thought that was really odd. So Jimmy comes back disheveled is the best way I could describe it. His shirt was untucked, his tie was a little bit loosened. He looked a little bit more wrinkly than when we had previously seen him. And a kind of funny joke that happened with the whole group was one of the girls was like, dang man, did you just smoke a joint or something? Because he came back looking so disheveled that we're like, okay, you kind of just lost some professionalism points there, but what the heck happened? Like, I thought you went out to go get snacks, but it seemed like he was doing a workout routine in his bus or something with the amount that he was sweating. So super odd, but he again kind of laughs and then makes an announcement, and he says, would you ladies like your charcuterie board dinner here or at the next one? And we're kind of thrown off because we're like, I don't know, I guess the next one, you know, we only have one more tasting here, so I guess we're almost done here. The next one's fine. And he goes, okay, sounds good. So our third tasting comes out, and one of the other girls in the group, as we're tasting, she kind of mentions to the group, she says, hey guys, like, I think they're closing soon, so we should probably hurry this up. And I was like, dang, the server told another person that we were running out of time and to kind of speed things up. So that dampened on the experience a little bit because I felt rushed, but also like they should have been addressing that with the bus driver who was coordinating all of our group and not us as individuals. You know, we weren't in charge. But that's again where it got weird, because as we're finishing up and kind of like looking around thinking, are we done here? Jimmy goes, okay, ladies, like, are you almost done? You ready to head out? Like maybe 5 more minutes, you think? And that's when I kind of get a little big brain moment, a big light bulb going. This guy is not coordinating this group like he should. And that's when it starts dawning on me that I'm gonna have to take a little bit more control than I originally planned, because he was just being a little too passive. He was just kind of being a people pleaser when he really should have been managing our group as a tour guide, which he was not doing. So right away I'm like, dang it, I can't get drunk tonight on wine because I have to manage all of these girls. So I had that going into my head as we exit that first winery and head back onto the bus. So we get back onto the bus, we're playing music, we're having a really good time, and it's a little bit longer of a drive to the next winery, thank goodness, because the first time we were only in it for like 4 minutes, and part of the appeal was this party bus. You know, we're paying to be on the bus. If we wanted to just drive winery to winery, we could do that. But so it takes about 10 minutes to get to winery number 2. So winery number 2 was beautiful. We actually got picked up by a bunch of golf carts because the staff of the winery explained that there was a wedding going on and they didn't want to be disturbed by people like walking to the actual winery part. So these golf carts, like a carriage in Cinderella, took us to the winery part, which was super cool. We were like, dang, like again, what a grand entrance. What a nice way to feel special and important. But we get to our table and we're like, okay, we're ready for our next tastings. And who's there but Jimmy with 3 bottles of wine, puts his hands on the bottle of wine, was like, all right, ladies, so they're actually closed, so I will be giving you your wine tastings. We're kind of like, okay, like, I don't know what to say to that, but all right, that's fine. So I almost keep saying his name. I gotta keep remembering to use the fake name because we used his real name a lot. There was a joke with that, but I can't use his real name. But so Jimmy goes around and is giving us all our little tastings, and he doesn't really tell us anything about the wine. And to me, that's the fun part about wine tasting, is learning about the wine. Like, if I wanted to sit around and just drink wine, we would have stayed home and karaoke. No, we wanted to learn about it. So we had to kind of like coax trivia out of him and being like, what kind of wine is this? And he'd be like, oh, this is a Cabernet. Anything else? It's red. Not to that extent. I mean, he had more to tell us than that. But it was like, okay, you're not the sommelier we were looking for. You're kind of just pouring us wine, whatever. So at this point, he brings our big charcuterie dinner. And I would like to emphasize, which is something that I may have forgotten to mention, that we were promised a charcuterie dinner. And if we were still hungry, that was weird. If we're still hungry by winery number 3, there would be like some type of food truck there where we can get additional food, but we were promised a charcuterie dinner. So he brings out our long-awaited charcuterie dinner, and it's just a board, you guys, smaller than a pizza box, and something that we literally had to ration out between the 13 of us because it was not a dinner by any means. It was kind of like a lot of us didn't even eat from the charcuterie board because we were thinking there's not going to be enough for everybody else, and I'm not super hungry, so I'll let everyone else have it because it was so small, and like to advertise it as a dinner, we were kind of like, all right, well, we're clearly going to be hungry after this. But again, we were like, okay, don't worry, like there's still going to be like a food truck at the next winery, we can get food there. So again, Jimmy just leaves this time. He just leaves and doesn't ask for our permission this time, thank goodness. But he just up and leaves, which was actually fine because during this time, it was actually a really nice moment between my sister and all of her friends. We started talking about like deeper things in life, some of our past trauma. And I think at one point, like I even started crying. You know, we were having this deep conversation. And during this time, is when Jimmy decides to come back and just stand there. And like, we're pouring our hearts out to each other. And then he just kind of like sits down and is listening. And so we're all just kind of like, that's the end of that. But he sits there, and the best way I could describe him is just vibe arsenic, because he killed our mood. He's just sitting there, not at all contributing to the conversation, which I don't know if that's weirder for him to kind of like input himself into the conversation, or if it's weirder to just sit there, which is what he did, because then we almost felt like obligated to turn our attention towards him and be like, so what made you get started in this business? How long has the business been around? Any drunk crazy girl experiences you can tell us about? So we kind of get him talking, loosen up a little bit. And I think that was kind of a mistake on our part, because I think he started to realize like, oh, okay, they're chill, they're cool. Like, they've forgiven me for being a half hour late, and like, we're friends now, we're buds. Where I am just realizing he has no customer service skills, he lacks any kind of professionalism, and again, he was not coordinating and managing our group like a tour guide should, because we're there, it's starting to get dark, and he asks us again, like, hey, how much longer you guys want to stay here? You want to hang out a little bit? We can leave in 10 minutes. And at this point, like, the girls are pretty tipsy. I am not at all at this point. And I'm just thinking like, dude, you decide for us. You tell us, okay, girls, 10 minutes left, finish up. You tell us that. I don't want to be the one wrangling these drunk girls when I don't have to. I am a paying customer. God. Jiminy Cricket. So we get this gaggle of hungry girls back onto the bus to head to winery number 3. And this is another little side story about how odd Jimmy was. So I'm on the bus, everybody is dancing, having a good time. And now at this point, I am full on playing coordinator. I am feeling like I'm kind of working the event as opposed to enjoying it, because he wasn't really doing a good job of guiding us. So I'm in the back of the bus, and we had brought a big old thing of beautiful cookies that my aunt made. Oh my gosh, she made these like bakery quality cookies. They were stunning. And so I go around like a little server with the box, and I'm like, cookie to all of my like drunk friends, and they're like, cookie. So everybody grabs a cookie, and I go and put them back, and Jimmy's back there, and I'm like, Jimmy, do you want a cookie? And I wish I was making this up. This is verbatim how he answered. Ah, dang, I would love to. I love cookies, but I'm on keto right now. I'm cutting out sugar because I'm going to Hawaii next weekend with my wife, and she has a 6-pack, so I'm really trying to catch up to her. She's really into she's kind of like a fitness influencer, and so she's all about like her health and diet, and so I don't want to disappoint her. So no cookies for me, because I gotta look good when I go to the beach in Hawaii. It's for a wedding, but it should still be pretty fun. And I'm sitting there like, that was a lot of information at once. Thanks, Jimmy. So again, I don't know if he just thought like, oh yeah, we're cool, we're buds. But it was just kind of like, I just asked if you wanted a cookie. A simple no would have done, you know? Very odd. But as he's standing there, this is when we kind of start negotiating, because at this point I had full on taken control of managing the group, which again, I regret, because he kind of laid all of that on me. So we're standing in the back of the bus, and he goes, okay, so what kind of wines are your friends feeling? Are we more into reds or whites? And I was like, I don't know, I guess a mix of both. And he goes, okay, because I'm trying to think of like what wines we should get for you guys at the next winery. Do you think like maybe a Syrah and a Cab? And I'm like, I don't know, maybe if I had a better wine tour guide where I knew the differences between wine, I could answer that question, but I cannot. So I just say like, yeah, just a mix of red and white's fine. And he's like, okay, cool. So I do still owe you a half hour for being late. We could either stay an extra half hour at the next winery, or we could drive around afterwards for an extra half hour and just enjoy the time on the bus. Like, you let me know. And again, like, all these decisions are being put on me, and I'm like, why do I have to be a boss right now? I don't want to freaking work this event. But so I kind of let him know, well, let's see what the vibe is at the next winery. We could be having a grand old time and want to spend more time there. But by the looks of my friends who are jumping up and down on this super fun bus, we might just want to party in this bus for an extra half hour. So I won't give you an answer now, like, to be determined. Let's see at the next winery. So we drive to the next winery, and this winery was super cool. It was actually more of a bar at night. They had a DJ playing, a dance floor, and all of us kind of looked at each other and we're like, wow, we've never been to a winery at night. We didn't know it turned into like a cool nightclub. This should be fun. So we arrive at the third winery. Again, oh shoot. Jimmy again comes out with 3 bottles of wine. And he goes, so do you guys even want me to pour these for you? Or do you want to just kind of like help yourself? And I'm just like, forget it, Jimmy. We'll just help ourselves. If we want the wine, we'll drink the wine. You're already fired from being like our sommelier. Just forget it. Just forget it. And I'm just so annoyed. But at this point, I'm just over it that it's like, just leave the bottles here. We'll pour what we want. That's when I feel like this is so ridiculous. Like, I feel like I'm making this up, but this truly happened. He pulls me off to the side and goes, hey, so listen, I actually dropped my glasses at the last winery. So they're lost, but I only live about 10 minutes away from here. Is it fine if I go back home and pick up my backup pair of glasses and come back? And I'm just like, yeah. I mean, I'd like my driver to be able to see. Yeah, that's fine. So we exchanged numbers and he's like, listen, if you need anything, call me, like, let me know. I will be back in half-hour tops, like half-hour maximum. And I was like, okay, bye, Jimmy. He leaves. I go back to my group of friends and there seemed to have been two different levels of friends. There was half of the group who was out on the dance floor, totally drunk off wine, having the time of their life. So fun. The other half of the group was tired. It was a long day. And because it was more of just like we were hanging out for hours and hours as opposed to like the wine tour that we had expected, you know, we had started to burn out a little bit, get a little bit fatigued. Not to mention we were a half hour later in our schedule than we had already planned. So it's kind of like that fatigue has set in a little bit earlier. So all of these drunk girls are looking at me and going, hey, Jacy, where's the food truck? And I was like, oh, shoot, you're right. This food truck that we were told would be at this winery wasn't there. So now I have 13 hungry girls looking at me going, Jacy, what are we gonna do for food? I didn't plan for dinner that night because again, I was coordinating the rest of this bachelorette party, so I had all of the meals planned. I didn't plan for a meal that night because I was promised a charcuterie dinner / food truck. So we all kind of putting our heads together and we're like, we want pizza. Let's get pizza. So I'm like, dang it, I gotta order pizza. Now, one of the issues with this was that our Airbnb was in kind of a very remote location of Temecula that nothing would actually deliver to us. Nothing on Postmates, no pizza. So we had to go pick up the pizza if we wanted to order it. So that's when I call Jimmy, who is who knows where at this point, getting his glasses. I don't know, that was kind of sketchy. But I call him and I say, listen, Jimmy, the girls are done. We are done wine tasting. You owe us a half hour in the bus. Here's what I'm gonna do. I am gonna order Domino's for my hungry friends. You are gonna take us there to pick it up and then take us home. And he goes, fine, deal. Now this was probably a lot more driving than he intended to do because the Domino's was a little bit out of the way, but he did kind of owe us. So it was more of me telling him, this is what's gonna happen and you're gonna like it. And he goes, okay. So now I have this group of hungry girls who are looking around going, where the hell is our bus driver? We want to leave. Did he leave again? And I was kind of covering for Jimmy a little bit because, you know, I was coordinating this whole event. I wanted to make sure everyone was having a good time. So I kind of felt personally responsible if they had any issues with our whole experience or with Jimmy or the tour bus overall. And so I was kind of like, oh, he'll be right back. Like I'm on the phone with him. He'll be here in like 5 minutes. And they're like, he left again. That is so absurd. And that's when everybody kind of starts like gathering around and, you know, talking a little bit of crap on him and just about the overall lack of professionalism, which I don't blame them, but it was like, oh man, they noticed. And like, why wouldn't they? It was such a bizarre experience compared to what we were promised in the sense of like wine tours and guidance and, you know, having that curated and coordinated tour guide there to lead you all through it. So we all stand up and we're all just waiting in the parking lot because they were just so done. They're ready to go. Their buzz is wearing off. Now it's just hunger and wanting to get home. But our bus wasn't even there. So we had to wait 10 minutes and then Jimmy pulls up, again, super disheveled and like nervous and was like, hey guys, sorry, like I'm back. And we're like, hey Jimmy, just take us home. But he does take us to Domino's. I placed that order over the phone. And then in the bus, we're having a great time. You know, I think the highlight of this whole thing was the actual bus. You know, party buses in general are so fun, but when you're surrounded by all of your closest friends, just dancing and karaokeing and having a good time, it makes for such a fun experience. But we make it to Domino's. I pick up our 3 boxes of pizza and we head back. I'd also like to mention one other thing. Before leaving this third winery, again, keep in mind that Jimmy had just left the bottles of wine for us to kind of like self-pour and self-taste. That because everybody was already so tired and just kind of over it, that we took the bottles of wine to go. So we had like 3 super nice bottles of wine like stashed away, which was like, they were our bottles, we technically bought them, but we were able to take those back to our Airbnb along with the Dominoes. So we arrived back to the Airbnb and our half hour was made up for and then some. And all the girls hop off on the bus and just run into the Airbnb with all the pizzas. But I stayed back to talk to Jimmy and kind of search the bus for any missing items, you know, make sure nobody left anything behind. And it was odd, his demeanor, because I think I would have expected maybe a little bit more of an apologetic tone or just kind of acknowledging how he may have dropped the ball, but he didn't. He was like, hey, like, hope you guys had a good time. Like, you guys were a great group. Thanks so much. Make sure to tag us on Instagram so we can reshare your posts. And I'm thinking, dude, do you think you knocked this one out of the park? Like, do you think you killed this one? Cause I'm making a YouTube video about you. And I just kind of let him know, like, yeah, you know, like, I think we're hoping for a little bit more of a coordinated kind of tour. So maybe, you know, in the future, let people know like specific times you'll be leaving, or just, you know, take more control of the group. I think that's kind of what I was looking for. And he was like, yeah, no, I appreciate the feedback. Like, well, thank you guys so much again. You have a great night. And he drives away. So I did send them a follow-up email afterwards, and I was just kind of like, listen, we had a great time. We think you guys have a killer business idea. We think you are going to be successful, and we want that for you. But we don't think you will be based on the customer service side of things that we experienced. So I let them know that I was a little disappointed that I felt like I couldn't enjoy myself, that I couldn't do the wine tastings because I couldn't get drunk because I myself had become the coordinator of my own group. I wanted somebody to come in and fully take control, tell us our timelines, decide which winery we'll have our board in, decide which wines to serve us, and have a little bit more knowledge about it if they're going to be the ones serving us. I also wasn't a fan of the fact at the first winery how they were telling all of us girls that they're about to close when they should be directly communicating with our tour bus driver who was in cahoots with them, because that wasn't necessarily our fault and they made us feel bad about it. I also just think it goes without saying that it was super unprofessional that he just kept leaving but asking for our permission to leave, but then also just coming back without really explaining it, you know? Like, everything about it was just so odd. Like, I don't know how else to describe it, that like, it wasn't a bad experience. We all had such a good time. We loved the wineries. We loved wine tasting. The bus was super fun. It was just Jimmy. It was just Jimmy. So odd, so odd. And another funny thing is that we kind of all afterwards, like we had a pool party the next day at this bachelorette party, and we were all saying like, what if, hear me out, he was like having an affair, and that's why he came back so disheveled, and that's why he was a half hour late, and that's where he was like going off to go like finagle with somebody on the bus. And I kind of shut that down. I was like, no guys, if anything, he was going back to the bus to do push-ups because he's on keto, about to go to Hawaii and needs a 6-pack. But still, that is not a reason to leave the group that you are in charge of coordinating in order to go do some pull-ups. I don't know. So that was the story of our super weird wine tour. Again, I think the best way to describe it is just odd. You know, it wasn't a bad experience, just super odd. But please don't go looking for which company it was. I think they are going to do so well in the future. I really hope the best for them. But I wanted to share this because it was just too strange of a story not to share with you guys. So I thank you guys so much for watching this video, and let me know in the comments your favorite type of wine. My favorite is Syrah. I'm a red wine kind of girl. I can't do whites. They're like sour. They're too sour. And I know you're supposed to pair them with fish, but I don't eat fish a lot. I like red wines and Syrah. Let me know yours. I'd love to know. But thank you guys so much for tuning in to my video. Again, make sure to like and subscribe to join us for other future story times. But I'll see you guys in the next one. Toodles! Is my hair big enough? It's never big enough. Oh my gosh, funny story. I went and got my passport this past week, and the guy like went to take my photo, and he's looking at it on his camera, and I was like, is it good? And he goes, well, it's a lot of hair. It's mostly hair. And I'm like, is that okay? And he goes, well, we'll see if they accept it. So if I don't get my passport, it's because my hair was too big.